And so you guys have to brace yourself now, because this is not music, and it's not comedy, and it's not poetry. It's a nonfiction book, but it is about love. It's about oxytocin, the chemical in the brain that allows us to open our heart. Whew. I'm just still from that song. So, you know, the Inuit, they don't really have 28 words for smell. But, you know, we humans really could use 28 words for love, because we use the single word to mean so many things, from the feeling I have right now listening to that music to, you know, the way a stranger's touch can like set the fire going across our skin, to the delight we feel in our grandchildren. So my book talks about love in the sense of that deep, enduring bond of committed love, the kind of bond that is forged by oxytocin. So oxytocin, as opposed to like romance or lust, it floods our bodies and our brains with feelings of connection, trust, and contentment. This chemical, though, is released during orgasm, and it travels through the bloodstream just as it rouses the pleasure centers of our brain when we're stroked, when we're physically close with people, and even when we just share time with close friends. So oxytocin is the secret to forming committed relationships of all kinds, but especially it's what turns lust into long-lasting love. The oxytocin bond is the basis for all our lifetime relationships, between parent and child, between a couple siblings, or even close friends. And I want to shout out to my first lover and still best friend, Jessie, for encouraging me to come tonight. An example of the oxytocin bond as its finest. So oxytocin lets you live happily with a life partner. It keeps you up all night dealing with a colicky kid, and it makes you glad to donate a kidney to your sister. So it does seem unbelievable that love, one of the most complex and intense experiences in your life, could depend on a single chemical, huh? And in fact, you know, oxytocin doesn't make this magic in a vacuum, because human biology is incredibly complex. But nevertheless, oxytocin is what makes it feel good to be with friends and lovers, to make it feel better than almost anything else. So it interacts with other chemicals of pleasure to make sex and love rewarding. It even stimulates the release of prolactin, the hormone that readies the female body to give birth, and stimulates mothering. Anytime you look at bonding, any kind of bonding, you find oxytocin. Even dogs release a burst of oxytocin when you pet them. Guys given a snort of oxytocin in the lab turn into trusting, generous people. And couples have an easier time resolving a spat after they've had a whiff of oxytocin. Yeah. So oxytocin, it lets us remember who we love, and it makes it rewarding to be with them. But it does much more than create feelings of attachment, because it's active throughout your body. It relieves stress. It promotes healing. As oxytocin flows through the bloodstream, it lowers your blood pressure. It reduces your cortisol levels. And it even improves your digestion. So that's why love, it not only makes us happy, it also keeps us healthy. So if our brains are wired for love and our health demands it, shouldn't we move toward emotional and physical intimacy of all kinds, not just sex, as simply and naturally as a flower turns toward the sun? If our brains are made for love, why do we need online dating, divorce courts? Why is it so hard to find and keep love? And why do we feel so alone? Well, you know what? It's because loving isn't automatic. We learn the oxytocin response. That is, we learn to love after we're born from our mothers, or whatever person is the primary caregiver and acts as a mother. So a baby's brain completes its development outside the womb, after we're born, in the first 3 years of life. And this development is shaped by the interactions with the mother. You know, this is just an immense task for one person, and it's astonishing that most people accomplish it so well. But such a powerful relationship, it has the power to do harm as well as good. So during this critical period, many things can inhibit or twist what should be a natural response to physical and emotional intimacy. Trauma, abuse, or neglect can actually impair the brain's ability to use oxytocin, locking the brain into a perpetual fear state. If the oxytocin response doesn't develop in a healthy way, you may be able to fall in love but never really love. You may marry without loving, and you may die without ever loving and allowing yourself to be loved. So that's the bad news, but the good news is that the brain isn't made of stone. It's living flesh that continues to grow and change all our lives. Because of what's called neuroplasticity, new circuits, new brain cells, and new ways of responding can continually develop. You know, just as you can learn to play the piano or make guacamole, no matter how old you are, you can learn how to love, even late in life. So I think that understanding the oxytocin response can not only help you understand why you feel the way you do, it can help you learn to feel the way you want to, so you can form the kind of attachments that we all crave. When you understand the basis of love, you can begin to consciously retrain the oxytocin response. So my book gathered together research in psychology, neuroscience, and molecular biology, and then it takes a leap into the possibility and explanation of how we love, why we sometimes can't, and how we can learn to love whenever we're ready.
I'm calling it a one-woman show because it's more than just